Kyle never expected this. After all his comrades died in battle, he finally defeated the legendary Demon Lord. However, having lost everything, he also lost the will to live. Just then, a red gem nearby began to emit a strange light. Kyle thought it was a magic item losing control. He tried to destroy it with his last breath, but the moment he touched the gem, a giant magic circle suddenly activated under his feet. When Kyle opened his eyes again, he found himself back in a familiar room. He thought he was dreaming. He immediately got out of bed and opened the curtains. Before his eyes was his peaceful hometown. It had not yet been destroyed by the Demon Lord. Kyle could not hold back his tears. This must surely be a dream. His childhood friend Lise pushed the door open. She came to wake him up like usual. He looked at Lise. She had died long ago in the future. Kyle completely lost control of his emotions. He hugged her tightly in his arms. It did not matter even if this was a dream. As long as he could see Lise. Lisa's face turned completely red from this sudden action. She struggled and pushed Kyle away. But that made Kyle lose his balance. The two of them fell onto the bed just like that. Lise looked at Kyle in front of her. She could not take it anymore. She struggled to push him away. Then she punched him hard in the stomach and quickly ran out of the room. The sharp pain in his stomach woke Kyle up. This was not a dream. And that red gem under the bedsheets was the best proof that he had returned to the past. To fill his stomach, Kyle went to the living room. He looked at the table full of food. Kyle thought Lise had prepared it. After all, neither he nor his mother knew how to cook, so he did not hold back and ate everything. However, his comrade Saran walked in. He had just finished his training. He loudly complained that Kyle did not leave him a single bite. Facing his former comrade, Kyle asked Saran for today's date. Saran thought Kyle was still half asleep. He told him today was May 24th, 2823. It was exactly Kyle's birthday, so Saran just played along. He gave that meal to Kyle as a birthday gift. Kyle complained that this was a bit lazy, since Saran did not even cook the food. But Saran pretended not to hear him. He said he was very hungry now, and he was going to look for something else to eat. After confirming he had returned to the past, Kyle went to the basement to visit his mother. His mother was one of the few great mages on the continent. She usually stayed in the basement to study magic. Seeing his mother again, who had been cruelly murdered by the demons, Kyle did not know what to say for a moment. His mother was also surprised. She did not expect to see Kyle in the basement. After chatting for a while, Kyle asked his mother a question. He asked if there was any magic that could send someone to the past. His mother answered him, magic that affects time does exist, but it requires a massive amount of magic power. If a magic item is used as a medium, it needs to store at least 1,000 years of magic power. If a forbidden ritual is used, it requires sacrificing the lives of more than half of all living creatures. Hearing this, Kyle already had his answer. When the Demon Lord launched a surprise attack 3 years later, far more than that many people had died. Just then his mother found a book. She said there was no medium in this world that could store the magic power needed for time travel. If such a thing really existed, it would be the long-lost heart of the dragon god. Kyle touched the red gem in his pocket. He was sure this was the heart of the dragon god. He had truly traveled back to 4 years ago. After a long chat with Kyle, his mother felt a bit hungry. She mentioned Lise was cooking today, and they could have a big meal. Kyle felt a bit embarrassed. He admitted he had already eaten everything. His mother froze for a second, but she quickly reacted. She remembered today was his birthday, so she decided that meal would be his birthday gift. Kyle was speechless. Why did everyone want to cheap out on his gift? Next, Kyle went to the door to look at the town. He was very curious. What did the Demon Lord plan to do with the dragon god's heart? At this time Lise came looking for him. Kyle immediately kneeled down to apologize for his recklessness. He lied that he had a nightmare about Lise dying. Lise forgave him after hearing this, and she wished him a happy birthday. When night came, Kyle wrote down everything that would happen in the future. 3 years later, the demons would launch a full-scale invasion. Lise sacrificed her life in that disaster. In order to change this tragic future, Kyle decided to start hellish training 3 years in advance. He used the reinforcement magic he learned in the future. He found the magic power was much stronger, but his current physical condition could not keep up. If he really faced the Demon Lord now, he would definitely be killed instantly. To obtain the holy sword as soon as possible, Kyle went to find the elf he was supposed to meet 4 years later. Because he called out the elf's true name directly, the elf felt a strong hostility towards him. Left with no choice, Kyle could only use the power of her true name to make her sleep. Right at that moment, Lise saw this happen. She insisted on going on the journey with Kyle. Just like that, the three of them returned home. Kyle apologized for what just happened. The elf questioned Kyle. She wanted to know how he knew her true name. Kyle wanted to say they would fall in love 4 years later, and that she told him her true name herself, but she obviously would not believe such a reason. To prevent Kyle from doing bad things with her name, the elf proposed signing a contract, but they had to wait until after the full moon. Kyle had a bit of a headache, because he had already agreed to travel with his comrades tomorrow. The elf was very angry after hearing this, but she could only temporarily hit the road with Kyle, and just like that, the four of them started their adventure 3 years early. Kyle already had a goal for their first stop. It was the legendary underground maze of the Magic King. Kyle took out a map. Saran and Lise both thought Kyle was scammed, but the elf recognized at a glance that the map was authentic. It was made of magic tree bark over 1,000 years old. This technique was lost long ago. It was impossible to make it nowadays. To avoid the dense traps in the maze, Kyle decided to dig a tunnel directly from underground. The elf summoned earth elements to help dig and reinforce the tunnel. Lise was in charge of hunting black bears for food. Saran was too tired from working and ran off to rest. The elf looked at Kyle curiously. She noticed he had been wearing magic rings that increased weight. He was doing extreme training. Kyle answered that this was to increase his stamina. The elf was very curious why he worked so hard. Kyle did not answer. Just then they happened to dig into the treasure vault, so they immediately called the other two comrades over. The moment they entered the treasure vault, all three of them were shocked. They had never seen so many gold coins. Saran was even more excited and rushed forward. He started wildly tossing the gold coins. However, Kyle had no interest in this wealth at all. He turned around and walked to another room. He went to look for his most trusted partner in the future. The holy sword turned into a beam of light. A white-haired girl suddenly appeared in front of Kyle.